How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. We're doing another retrospective today, and we're going to be going through the back catalogue of Cheltenham's finest, Stampin Ground. Now, Stampin Ground, if you don't know who they were the premier hardcore band in the UK for a time. They started off in the 90s very much in that metallic hardcore fashion, and then got more of a thrash metal influence as the band went on. They were the best live band you would have ever have seen at the time. Every lineup they went on, they just laid waste to everyone. They were the best support band ever, and one of the best headliners as well. The bass player Ian Glasper, your bassist and lyricist, he was like the Steve Harris of the band. He also formed Blackfish Records, which put out a string of fantastic releases, fantastic bands on that label, and that really was that was the label to sort of be on for a while. It really was like a mark of honour if you were on that label. And then he was also a journalist he was writer for Terrorizer magazine. And nowadays he's wrote a string of books. He did a fantastic trilogy, like on the history of punk in the UK. Did a brilliant book on UK thrash metal, which came with a great free CD compilation. I'm sure I've shown it off on here before, and I've used it as a guide for various videos I've made. And early on in this channel's history, I was doing a series of classic British metal albums, or albums that I consider classic at least, that were a little less obvious. You don't need to be told for the millionth time how good Number of the Beast is, for example. But just albums I grew up with as well, like Earth Tone 9, bands like that. And albums I felt time had been kind to, where I wanted to sort of just get a sort of research conversation in, really. Some bands that never really went beyond sort of demo level, but I thought that were really good. And an episode I did on that was I did an episode on Carved from Empty Words, and it's that album's 25th anniversary now, so the band have got back together this year, and they're doing a string of shows to mark that anniversary. And hopefully something good, hopefully it leads somewhere. I think for the meantime it's a one-off, but I hope the reaction is so that it becomes more than that. But we'll see. So I'm going to be seeing the band in just under a month. And I thought, now's the best time to get reacquainted, really. Let's go through the catalogue again and remind myself of these songs and do a retrospective, basically. I thought now's the best time. So, where do we start? Let's start at the beginning, I suppose. Bear with me. So, as I mentioned, Ian Glasper is sort of like the main, as far as I know anyway, the main man behind the band. So, if Ian Glasper is the Steve Harris of the band, then Anthony Malbury, otherwise known as Mobs, is the Dave Murray of Stampin Ground. So those two were in a band before, Decadence Within, and the singer of Decadence Within went on to be in a band called Suicide Watch, which was a post Stampin Ground band, but it does get a bit convoluted with the lineups, so bear with me. But so the band put out their first demo in '95. So the lineup is Ian Glasper on bass, Anthony Malbury on guitars, on Mobs, which you'll call him going forward, Scott Atkins on guitar, remember that name for later, Ade Stokes on drums, and Paul Catton on vocals. Now, Paul Catton would leave and go on to be in Medulla Nocte, another fantastic band. Let me know in the comments if you want a Medulla Nocte retrospective in the future. On equal keel, really, but a very different band indeed. yeah, let's stick with the demo for now. So yeah, this demo is really good actually. This demo was it was the it was the holy ark for a while. It was just like I knew of Medulla Nocte, and and obviously I had both the albums, Medulla Nocte albums and Stampin' Ground, and I knew that Paul was in Stampin' Ground at some point, but I could never find the release he did with them. I know that he did their demo. I would ask on like the merch stand, like, have you got the demo with Paul? And I'd just get laughed at, Yeah, we've got a load of copies here, mate. Yeah. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, you and everyone else. But it was actually reissued a couple of years ago on what's this? This is a cool little label that just does cassettes, and they put out the first 2 demos. What's the record label? Bear with me 1 second. Ripcord Records. There we go. And this cassette's actually sold out now, but you can still go and listen to it or get it as a download. It's a great little release actually. It's got a cool. You got some photos from the time, and some notes there from the governor himself, Mr. Ian Glasper. And yeah, it's a cool little demo. It's nice and raw, nice and chuggy and dark. The band at this point was very, I'd say 90s hardcore, which would go on to be known as metalcore. But what metalcore was at the beginning and what it is now were 2 totally different things. It was metal-influenced hardcore punk. You can argue all day where that started to come to fruition. I guess it kind of started with Crossover, and yeah, it all kind of melds together. But this is very, very Earth Crisis, very Integrity, and I think there's a bit of Cro-Mags in there as well, when Cro-Mags would go a bit slower and a bit more metallic at times. Dawn of Night is the opening track on this. Very chuggy, big grooves on it. The whole 6 songs are very mid-paced, very dun 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 dun, and they're like a lot of riffs like all that sort of stuff. But it's good stuff. They got a lot of crowd chanted like choruses, all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to think of the Cro-Mag song I've got in my head now. On the classic one with We've Got to Know, The Age of Quarrel, about 2 or 3 songs in that. Dun, 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 I just can't get through to you. That one. Think that, but bit heavier, bit more sinister. Like I say, think early Integrity. That first album with the Pushead artwork. I think early Earth Crisis, think the Firestorm EP, and what's that album called? It comes to me in a minute, but early Earth Crisis, very chuggy, very there's a lot of groove in the 90s. Machine Head were coming out. You had obviously like Propane and Pantera, and even Napalm Death had gone a bit chuggy, hadn't they? Yeah, very 90s, but it's obvious time, but it's good stuff. So then they put out, at this point, Paul Catton, he was in Medulla Nocte and Stampin' Ground, and he had to choose one. I think Medulla Nocte was that was who he was with first, so double duty. I think he mainly joined just to help the band out, really. So then we get Heath on vocals. I'm just going to try and find his full name. Heath Crosby. Now, with Heath, they put out a couple of 7-inch singles. They put out 2. Dawn of Night. So Dawn of Night from the demo is re-recorded. And then they put out Starved. And then both of those were released as a compilation, which is what we're going to be talking about now. The 1996 self-titled EP. I think Dawn of Night is definitely was undone. There's something on the album that's a re-recorded song from the demo. I'll have to go into it in a minute. But yeah, kind of more of the same. More traditional hardcore. Very raw, but really, really good. Won't Be Denied is a great track. I'm just looking through songs. I'm trying to cross-reference them to see which ones were re-recorded. It doesn't really matter. Some of these songs from the demo, these are like the early demo days, basically early EPs. One or two do get crossed over, do get re-recorded, and I think one of these songs is re-recorded for the album. So you got basically 2 singles together for an EP on this. Same sort of thing, really. Quite chuggy, quite mid-paced, big grooves, big hooks. It's all very, you know, all that sort of stuff. With a few doomier, you know, all that good stuff. I'll tell you one thing as well. I mean, thank God for the internet, man, because looking on YouTube, there's like full live gigs with Heath on vocals, and it's great seeing it. And you just didn't have that back then. If you weren't there, that was it. You missed it. So unless the band were really big and they had videos out or something like that. So it's been cool going over this period of the band, and even being able to see live footage of the band from this time. So next up, the band released their debut full length, and that's Demons Run Amok. Now look at this artwork. This is this demo that was reissued a year or 2 ago. These from this artwork. Oh, in fact, that's pretty close. And this photo session, there's a couple of different. Yeah, there's that as well. Now, this is an odd album, really. I would say this is a unique album in the sort of catalogue of Stampin Ground. And when I was listening to it and I was having a look around, reading some reviews and that, it seems like this has got a bit of a cult following on its own. Now, if the band are going to get together and mark the anniversary of Carved Empty Words, I would, maybe even if it's not I would get back together with Heath. Get some. It doesn't have to be the full lineup. I would get members of him with Heath and do this, cover this period of the band. I think you'll be surprised at the turnout it will get. Again, this is very different to what the band would go on to do, but that's what makes this album so cool. Listening to it now, it's got this. Again, it's very of its time in a way. It's got again that 90s sort of. It's got that again. It's you say Earth Crisis and Integrity. It's got that sort of early metalcore feel to it, but you've got like nice. Heath's a great vocalist as well. He kind of doesn't get so much reference, and there isn't much. There's not really much like such and such between like him and Adam. Normally, like you get a band that has multiple singers, they go, "Oh, who's the better singer?" and things like that. But it seems like Adam, who's now the front man of the band, Adam Frakes' son. He's kind of been sort of, you don't hear much of him, and I think they only really talk about Paul Catton now as sort of like an afterthought because of Medulla Nocte and all the projects he went on to do. But this is a really good, enjoyable album. It's Heath is a great vocalist as well. He's got a really nice scream at the end of like Blackened, and it's got quite a climatic ending with that track as well. Won't Be Denied. It's a track that was on the original demo that is re-recorded for this. Is Dawn of Night on this? No, Dawn of Night is on this one though. But it's funny because you know, like when you get like the Paul Di'Anno era of Iron Maiden, kind of in a way, it's a separate band. It's a separate part of the history that's unique on its own. Kind of like the first 3 Thin Lizzy albums as well, with Eric on guitar. That it's kind of like a different band, and then with the new lineup, the band's sort of reborn, but carrying on with the same name. This era of the band is kind of like a separate chapter, And I think some songs, I'm pretty sure Dawn of Night stayed in the band's live set for quite a while. Maybe even Won't Be Denied as well. But when I got into the band and started seeing them, as far as I'm aware, none of this was played. If it was like one song. But I would say, I mean, and I never even got these albums until Discogs came along. I couldn't find them anywhere. But yeah, these are cool and definitely worth checking out. They're a little different to what would come later on, but they've got their own charm to them, is what I'm trying to say. And it's a cool, unique period of the band that I think kind of stands on its own. It's kind of separate now. It's a separate period for a band. I'm trying to think, like, when Arch Enemy reformed recently with their original vocalist under a different name, and they just went out and did a set of those 3 albums, kind of like what Ronnie James Dio did with Sabbath. They went out as Heaven and Hell and just solely concentrated on that period of the band. I think something cool like that could be pulled off, because this is a unique time of the band. And Demons Run Amok, I mean, I saw some reviews that were saying like this is their best album. Now, I don't think that, but I kind of get where they're coming from. And I think if I was into the band then, like if I was watching the band now, and this was the first album I got by them, yeah, I could see why it would be your favourite, because everyone jumps into a band at different times, and different things take an effect on you at different times as well. So, yeah, I'm fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you, But yeah, if you aren't new to, probably this is the last place. If you're new to the band, don't start with these albums. But if you are into the band and you haven't heard these, do yourself a favour and check them out. You're in for a treat. Right. So Heath leaves the band, and now enter Adam Frakes Syme. I think I pronounced that word right. Now I think Adam is actually from Southend. Don't quote me on that, but I remember someone saying at some point that he's a local lad, but I'm not sure. But I'm not from Southend, but if I was meeting a mate in half hour, yeah, I would leave now and I'll be there in about half hour. Traffic impending. So Adam joins the band, and they put out in 1998 an expression of repressed violence. Now, for a lot of people, this was the first album. Not that they considered it the first album. They just thought it was the first album because they never heard of anything else. And the band we know and love today, this is where it starts. This is on Century Media Records. They always had really cool artwork. And what I loved about hardcore bands as well was that you always got live shots on there was never like, these lavish photo shoots. There was always just live shots, loads of them. And who did the artwork on this? I think this guy did a load of artwork for a bunch of people. I remember it was a time, if it is who I think it is, doesn't say. Dang it. Maybe I think he did the next album. Let's quickly look this guy up. Because, Mid. I remember at the time, everyone had artwork by this guy. I think he did a load of the Blackfish stuff as well. I'm looking at him now. Yeah, he did Annihilated, 50 Caliber, Extreme Noise Type, Gorefest, Medulla Nocte, which I held up a minute ago, bunch of Napalm Death albums. There was a time when this guy, like every album that came out had his artwork on it. It was really cool. Let's get into the music then. So yeah, it's funny because if you take Demons Run Amok and then take Carved from Empty Words, this just slots nicely because it's as if like it's a completely different band, and it's the bridge between. The album opens with a wall of feedback and then this sort of Slayer-esque riff. There's a lot more speed in the band's sound now. It's retaining some of that bounce, the old, there's beat downs at the end as well. Emasculate has got this great main riff. It's a real headbanger. It's really, really fucking catchy. Emasculate. Then you've got the Death You Deserve, which has quite possibly the most evil riff ever. It's such a good song as well. And it just just builds up and builds up, and yeah, when it kicks into the chorus, the death you deserve. It's fucking awesome. This gig's gonna be so good. But yeah, Death You Deserve is one of the best songs ever by the band. And yeah, like I say, one of the most evil riffs ever. My Will Be Done has got a sort of cold, harsh, it's quite a doomy song. It's quite slow, so you kind of got this sort of free. What was I trying to say? This free sort of 1-2 punch, and then with the Death You Deserve opens the album, and then we go nice and slow, nice and doomy. Kind of just goes boom. You've got a guy doing backing vocals on this track as well. He just goes, mark my words, like real deep. I wonder if it says who it is, because it doesn't say. It's got to be here somewhere. The poor guy, he's like screaming at the screen now, going, "It was me, I did it." Produced by Dave Chang, forgot to mention him. Backing vocals on My Will Be Done by Donk. Sanity Reigns, there you go. And then you got a bunch of people doing all the chanted vocals for the rest of the album. But yeah, that's a nice doomy slow song. Where's that? My Will Be Done. Betrayed by Many is a good song. That doon 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 doon. It's got this real punky bass. Then you got the crowd chanting vocals. Da 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 ba da 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 da. This time we'll win. Da, 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 da. UK hardcore. Da, 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 da. Finally on the rise. Great, good party atmosphere on this one as well. Remember, the band is still a hardcore band. There's just metal comes into it later on. But that's a really good fun song. Boiling Point is heavy as fuck. Really underrated song. Good sort of bounce in that one. Good groove. Big breakdown in it as well. And yeah, just an all-round fantastic album. This edition has a cover as well. Jerusalem by just quick look up, by One Way System. If you can find that. And after that, in 1999, a year later, is the East Side versus the Dark Side split with Knuckle Dust. I remember buying this. Oh, there you go, Blackfish Records. I remember buying this at a Knuckle Dust gig at the Ruskin Arms. I bought this and Time Won't Heal This. This is really, really raw, really good stuff. And again, it's just full of live shots. I'm back now. So nice setup, really. You've got Stampin Ground, give a new song, and then a Knuckle Dust cover, and then Knuckle Dust give you a new song with a Stampin Ground cover, and then Stampin Ground and Knuckle Dust do a song together at the end. Is that a Stampin' Dust or Knuckle Ground, if you will? Here you go. Bonus. Oh, it is a cover. Is it an Agnostic Front song? Let me. Yes, I was right. There you go. Yeah, they do United Blood by Agnostic Front. Anyway, so the main song on this by Stampin' Ground is Pain is Weakness, Leaving the Body. One of the heaviest songs you will ever hear. Adam's vocals are just tortured in it. Really good lyrics on it as well. Just really, really heavy. And then Adam just screams his lungs out. Nothing really lasts forever except the bitter taste of betrayal. And then it just kicks into in the end. Just all breaks down. Boom. Just open calls then. Jin, 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 jin. pain is weakness. Dun, 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 leaving the body. Fucking awesome. Yeah. That song will get re-recorded later. We'll revisit that. But yeah, fantastic. Awesome stuff. And, Christ, 100 years ago when I bought this. But yeah. So then next up, we get the masterpiece, which is Carved from Empty Words. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best album ever recorded. I'm not saying that this is the best album ever recorded by a UK band. I'm not saying it's the best thrash metal album. I'm just saying I can't think of an album better than it. That's all. I would even say, I mean, I kind of argued for a little while that this was like the UK's. There was like, is it a hardcore album or is it a thrash metal album? And I argued that it was a thrash metal album. I would even argue that this was the UK's Raining Blood. And Ian Glasper actually answered me and said, no, it's a hardcore album. Yes, there's thrash influences on there. Yes, there's the influence, but ultimately it is a hardcore album. And who am I to argue with the governor? So he has spoken. End of. So anyway, it's 10. It's funny because, you know, like when you get like a classic album and then you get the album before it, which is like they're attempting it on that album, and then the next album's where they nail it. So on the album before, where they don't quite get there, but they're having a really good go, and you can kind of see the pieces coming together, kind of like Ride the Lightning by Metallica, and then they follow it up with Master of Puppets. You can kind of see where things are going retrospectively, and it's like, yeah, you're not quite there yet, but you're so close. That's kind of like that with Expression of Repressed Violence, and then they just nailed it with the next one. Everything they were doing on this album, they kind of dropped the sort of bounce and the groove and the chugginess from Demons Run Amok is still there, but it's utilised to its full potential, and the thrash is still there, or it's now fully utilised, so the speed is there, and it's just tightened up. It's just distilled. It's, I don't know. It's everything they're trying to do up to this point. It's just nailed on this album. I did remember at the time reading that basically this album was written with the live show in mind. They were like, no, what's going to make the pit just kick off? How are they going to... What are we going to do on this bit? We're going to have the crowd jumping on this bit. We're going to have the crowd kicking shit out on this bit. We're going to have a circle bit on this. It was written with the live show in mind. And, yeah, well, they nailed it. Because this is just... Even listening to it again today. I remember when this came out. I remember Everybody Owes a Death being played on a radio, because that was going to be on a punk compilation that was released with Kerrang magazine. So Kerrang magazine had put this punk compilation out, and Everyone Owes a Death was on that. I think it was played on both Marianne Hobbs and Ian Canfield's show, and then so who's this Stampin Ground band? And then all of a sudden in Kerrang, bang, 5 out of 5 review. Then in Metal Hammer, yeah, it was getting. And I was into Slipknot and shit like that at the time, you know. It was like, no, this band are the real deal. I think I just got into Napalm Death, because Napalm Death had released Enemies of the Music Business at that time. So I was getting into metal, but I was getting into, you know, I was going further underground now. Some of my friends were kind of happy staying where they were. I was all in, and I was getting into the underground of things. It was such a good time. It really was. And unlike these American bands, like these bands were like they were real people, if you know what I mean. Like they were, you know, this was in your backyard, you know. And it was funny because, you know, all these American bands were like these rock stars, or whatever, and like Stampin Ground, they look like they just stepped off a site and then strapped their guitars on and then just carried on, you know. And yeah, I remember a real buzz around this album at the time, and I saw them. It was quite a while before I saw them, actually. I didn't see them until the Return of British Steel tour. That was with God Forbid. That was the first UK shows God Forbid played. And Decimate opened for them as well. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the songs. Officer Down, one of the best one of the best songs you're ever going to hear, basically. 4 minutes, 50 seconds. It's just phenomenal. It's funny, then you got Outside Looking In and The Symmetry of Hatred. The first 3 songs, really, are just an assault. And then, again, on the 4th track, things kind of slow down. For Bathe My Wounds. That kind of goes, backs off a little bit. But then we go straight back into Everyone Knows a Death. One thing I need to say as well, Aid Stokes, the unsung hero. What a phenomenal drummer. Yeah, just what an absolute machine. And his double kicks. I mean, his drums have been fantastic up to this point anyway. But fuck, does he shine on this album. I mean, the double kicks on Officer Down. But yeah, so for the first 3 tracks, it's kind of just, 1, 2, 3. Bathe My Wounds takes things up back a little bit. We go slightly doomier on this one. Then we kick in to Everyone Knows a Death. It's just over 2 minutes, and it is just constant. And that is kind of like it is quite a punky song though, especially with Adam's vocals on that one. By Whatever Means Necessary, Go Your Own Way. Great song. That kind of goes back. That song actually reminds me of Demons Run Amok, actually. Nothing Changes Nothing is another good one as well, which goes back to the early days of the band. Another classic on here though is Mid-Death Crisis. What a song. Amazing. Again, one of the best riffs Slayer never wrote. It's fucking great. If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I'm facing the other way. What a line. It's got that awesome beat down, that fucking great. And then Ultimatum, bam 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 bam, and it's just got this slow dun. While Adam just screams, "I'm falling down." Fucking great. It's just this real slow, punishing song that just finishes. And then Can't You See, I Have Fallen Down, and nobody I know could care fucking less. And when the time comes, I will do my best to seal their fate without regrets. Awesome stuff. Yeah, 10 perfect tracks. The songs perfectly paced in the right order. It's lightning in a bottle. Fucking phenomenal. Can't ferment your words. Can't wait to see it soon. And yeah, what's next? Next up, I actually picked this up a couple of years ago. The band actually put out kind of a live album. It's 6 tracks really, but look at that. That's yeah. There we go. There's the man. Got a live shot there, and then spin it around. And that was what was always cool with Stampin' Ground, is that you always got these cool. What am I doing? Live shots. They open up with a Dark Angel riff, and then go into Officer Down. You got Emasculate from Repressed Violence, Outside Looking In, Symmetry of Hatred, Legion, Pain is Weakness, Leaving the Body. Oh no, that is the full. It's 6 songs. But yeah, this is a cool little article to get. It'd be cool actually if they, released this with some other recordings, and or even if they did like a live album of their current string of shows. But yeah, this is a little gem that I'm proud to have. And yeah, then in 2003, funnily enough, I remember Hatebreed. I think the first time Hatebreed came to the UK, they were opening for Slayer at the Astoria, and then so you had that first album, Satisfaction is the Death of Desire, which was a great album. Then they put out Perseverance, and when Perseverance was released, they played the Garage. So it's Hatebreed at the Garage, supported by Stampin Ground and Knuckle Dust, and mate, that was utter bonbons. I mean, I remember just one bit, just sort of like just being up against the wall while it was just fists just everywhere. It was crazy. What a gig. Yeah, so in 2003, the bands release a new Darkness Upon Us with a slightly different lineup this time. I remember getting like the lowdown. I remember thinking I was really cool because I knew what was going on. I was talking to the drummer from Knuckle Dust, and he said, "Yeah, Stampin' Ground have got a new album coming out, but Ian's on the album. He's wrote the album. He's played on it, but you're going to get Ben from Unite. He can't tour anymore, so Ben from Unite is going to take over on bass, and they've got a new. I don't think he told me that at the time, but yeah. So Aid Stokes leaves the band at this point, and we've got a new drummer, and you will get a new bass player on the tour for this album, but Ian Glasper is still on the album. But let's go through it. So Dave Chang produced the last two albums, and on this one you've got the almighty Andy Sneap producing. And as I say, Ian is still on the bass, but you got a new drummer on this album, Neil Hutton, who was in Benediction. I'm just going to look his thing up here. He did a couple of Benediction albums. Oh, he did a few. He did a few actually. Oh, I thought he just did the. I thought he did Organised Chaos and Killing Music, which had Dave Hunt from Manal Nafrak on vocals. I think he just did those 2 albums. But no, he did the Dreams You Dread and Grind Bastard as well. And I was in Warlord as well. Warlord UK. They're a fucking good band. I've got their albums down there. I'll have to do a video on them one day. Anyway, so you kind of got like a death metal drummer on this one. But yeah, let's get into it. So a new Darkness Upon Us. I saw them on this tour as well at Colchester Arts Centre. Another great gig. Yeah, it's a little bit different, this album. It's one of those albums that but I think its main problem is that it follows a classic, but it seems like the band is sort of looking to branch out at this point and trying to reach a wider audience without sacrificing any of their heaviness, but it just feels like they're trying to slightly tidy things up and make it a bit more palatable. I think maybe like trying to tour with some bigger bands, maybe, I don't know. And it feels, rather than just like a slice of, here's 10 songs and off you go. Like this one, it's got like an intro track, and it's their longest album by a good couple of minutes as well. So it starts out with an intro track, and then we go into Don't Need a Reason to Hate, which is pretty standard Stampin' Ground at this point. Behind the Light has got like a bit of a memorable chorus to it. It's got like a bit of a hook to it. Killer of Society. Yeah, some big hooks and grooves on this one. Dead from the Neck Up is the standout track on this one. Real sort of pummeling riffage on that. And you got a real piercing scream from Adam as well. Ben Frost, by the way, forgot to mention, was on bass for this tour. He was in a band called Unite from Canby Island. They were a pretty cool band. He played bass for Stampin' Ground, but he was actually guitarist in these. They did 2 fantastic splits as well. One with December. This is amazing. And they did another one with Knuckle Dust as well, the other band that did a split with Stampin' Ground. I saw them at the Underworld, these 2 bands together, when this came out. And yeah, both of these, all of this is good. But like I say, a bit more metal on these two, while this one is a bit more like hardcore punk. But yeah, I think Ben as well would go on to be in Romeo Must Die with Adam after Stampin' Ground. But definitely worth a mention. And anyway, let's get into it. What was I talking about? Dead from the Neck Up, great song. Yeah, that's a like. Here's the problem with this. Yeah, we'll get into it. Dead from the Neck Up, fantastic track. Now on this album, Adam starts writing some lyrics as well, and most notably in the sort of second half of the album. This album actually gets better as it goes on. Actually, the second half of the album I think is actually the stronger one. But you've got The Cage and Bear the Scars, and on both of these tracks, Adam kind of verges. He has a go at doing some sung vocals. And The Cage, the riff is actually quite melodic, and yeah, it's good. It works. If anything, like, I think Bear the Scars is is the standout track on the album, and the closing track as well. Where you got like a 2-part closing track. You got Ashes to Scatter and a Mantra for a Dying World. Ashes to Scatter as well. Is it The Cage or Ashes to Scatter? Great line. I'm like a stained glass window without the sun. Is that on that? Ashes to Scatter. Last. Yeah. Ashes to Scatter. That's what that line. Yeah, great line again by Adam. And right, there's good and bad about this album. It's good. It's solid, but I don't know. There's something. The bite isn't quite there, which is on the last couple of albums. There's a razor edge to the riffs on those two albums, and it feels like the edges have been smoothed over slightly, and I don't know why, because it's Andy Sneap. But and you can tell because Pain is Weakness, Leaving the Body is re-recorded for that, and it kind of makes apparent what's not quite right with the album. Because when you listen to the original version of that and then this version, it's like, yeah, now I see what's not right with it. I don't know. It just feels like a little bit too. Yeah, like I say, the edges have been smoothed over somewhat. But that's not to say the songs are bad. But there's just something, the stuff that bounces out of the first two albums or the last two albums, it all kind of just melds together, and it kind of passes you by. You have to, you really have to listen to the album a bunch of times to really get into it. And it's a shame as well, because I think the later, the standout tracks on the album are actually later in the album. So Dead from the Neck Up, for example, or The Cage, or Bear the Scars. And it feels with The Cage and Bear the Scars and what they were doing with Ashes to Scatter, I don't know, this is speculation, but it feels like this is a transitional album. But the problem is that it's the band's last album, and it feels like where it's expression of repressed violence is the build-up for Carve from Empty Words. It's kind of like, this is the one to, like, this is the jab, this is the punch. It feels like this is the jab, and the punch never came. It felt like this was gearing up to do something else on the next album, and we never got it, basically. And it's funny because it feels like this is a transitional album, and we never quite saw. We never did see what the band was going to transition into, if you know what I mean. But I think we can speculate a little bit on the post Stampin' Ground projects, so we'll get into that. But it's a solid album. I mean, I think it's a solid 7 out of 10 for this one, and I think its biggest problem is that it's followed a classic, really. But then the band would go on to release another split EP in the same later in the same year. So again, this is 2003, and they did a split with Northside Kings. Everything on here though is covers, and they did do a cover. There was one cover that they did for a Thrash compilation that was out on Blackfish Records. They did a Violence cover, and I'm pretty sure the Cro-Mags cover was on something else as well, and plus the Knuckle Dust cover. So basically, I think it's all just covers that they've just recorded elsewhere, and they've just stuck them all on one CD, basically. But with that being said, it is all good. I mean, they do Calling in the Coroner by Violence, and then Bringing It Down by Judge as one by Knuckle Dust, United Blood, Agnostic Front, Malfunction, Cro-Mags. I mean, it's all good stuff. And then again, the band do a song together at the end. The track's not titled, but yeah, at the end they do one together. But it's worth getting this for the covers. I mean, Calling in the Coroner is worth the price alone, as well as Malfunction by Cro-Mags. And then yeah, I remember the bands. They did a string of dates just to call it a day. I think they just announced really that I think members of the band had different priorities. Different priorities come along in life, you know. And I think they just marked the end, really. And then that was that. Adam and Ben from Unite, who I mentioned earlier, would go on to do Romeo Must Die. They did put out an EP before this, had like some animated like face, like some sort of animated sort of comic character on the front cover. But and then they released this with Metal Hammer. It came like you got the full album, pretty good of its time. But I think you kind of see Adam exploring what he was trying to do with the band on the Cage, and what's the song called? Veil lifted from my eyes. You know, I think it's like he's extending what he was doing there. But yeah, Romeo Must Die were pretty much a metalcore band. They were all right. Like I say, of their time, but pretty good. But most interesting, I mean, Ian and Aid would go on to do Suicide Watch, and the singer of their the band I mentioned, Discordant something. Let's quickly look it up. I'm getting all my names muddled up. Discordant. I can't remember what it is. Decadence Within. Sorry, Discordant. Don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah, Decadence Within. The singer of them would go on to be in Suicide Watch. Sorry, the bass player. No, the singer did as well, funny enough. But yeah, the project I want to talk to you about is a band called Son of Endless Night, which did 2 cracking albums. So you had the singer from Annihilated, and I've got one of their CDs somewhere here. I look straight at it. There you go. Yeah. Awesome UK thrash metal band. Classic albums from the 80s as well. So you've got Psychob from Annihilated on vocals. And Aid Stokes, so the drummer from Stampin Ground, turns up on guitar for this. So he's back in Stampin Ground now, back on the drums. Good to see. But yeah, it was quite funny seeing him in a new band on guitar. That was pretty crazy. Ian's on bass as well. So yeah, it was good to see Ian and Aid together on a new project, which isn't very much like Stampin Ground at all. It's a thrash metal band, but it's quite melodic in places as well. Yeah, 2 very interesting albums. I think I reviewed this one when it came out, the second one. But yeah, that's a really good project. Really worth checking out. And yeah, I think we've reached the end. Like I say, I'm really looking forward to seeing them again in London. I'm hoping that it leads somewhere. And yeah, like I say, when you listen to these two projects, listening to this in hindsight now, I mean, there's a bit of time between. There's a bit of time between Son of Endless Night and New Darkness Upon Us, but this album makes me wonder what the band would have gone on to evolve into. But I guess at this point we can only wonder. But yeah, a phenomenal band, a proud band to have in the UK canon. And like I say, the band, all members have gone on to do. Scott Adkins has gone on to be another Premier League producer. I think basically, if you can't afford Andy Sneap, you go to Scott Adkins. What's Scott gone on to produce, actually? He's gone on to do like Cradle of Filth. And let's quickly go through his resume and some of the albums he's gone on to produce. He's basically not taking part in this reunion because he's basically too busy. Right, yeah, let's go through it. So he's works at Grindstone Studios in Suffolk. Amon Amarth, they're doing all right, aren't they? He mixed. He did the engineering for that. He's mixed Evangelion by Behemoth. He's done the last two Benediction albums, Cinder's Fall. A bunch of Cradle of Filth albums. What's he done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bloody hell, he's done like 6 or 7 Cradle of Filth albums. Damnation Angels, Devilment. That's Danny Filth's side project. Gamma Bomb, done a couple albums with them. Man Must Die. They were good back in the day. I remember them. Monument, Onslaught. He's worked on the last couple of Onslaught albums. Savage Messiah, Sacred Mother Tongue. He did the first Shrapnel EP. Here we go. First couple of Silosis albums. The More I See, Vader. He did 2020's Solitude in Madness, Venom Prison. They were making some waves a few years ago. Yeah, so Scott Adkins is where it's at, and with a guitar tone that's on these albums, that can't be argued with. So yeah, Stampin Ground, there it is, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you think I did the band justice. Let's do the rundown then. So yeah, if you are new to Stampin Ground, what should you get first? Well, absolutely. Half from Empty Words. What you want. Start with the middle two. If you like what you hear, take one step forward and get the New Darkness Upon Us. But then, if you can track that down, definitely get it. But and then yeah, do yourself a favour and go check out the early stuff as well, because there's some gems in there. And yeah, check out the Calling in the Coroner cover as well if you can. But yeah, definitely chuck on Half from Empty Words, because that album's a masterpiece. Right, that's your lot for now, folks. I'll catch you all later. See you soon. Let me know, are you going to go watch Stampin Ground? Did you see them back in the day? Who did you see them with? What's your favourite album? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What did you think was underrated? And yeah, did you see them in the early days? Did you see them with Heath? Did you even see them with Paul Catton? Let me know. And yeah, if you want the Medulla Nocte retrospective, let me know in the comments as well. Right, that's it, folks. See you later.